Captain Ryland's eyes blinked rapidly as he tried to adjust to the harsh light around him. The world he found himself in was unlike anything he had ever seen. Towering, jagged structures rose like the skeletons of some ancient creatures. Bioluminescent, plants and fungi glowed faintly in eerie blues and greens, painting the alien landscape in ghostly patterns. Ryland could feel his pulse racing, but he forced himself to remain calm. Panic was a luxury he could not afford. He had been captured, not by any ordinary alien patrol or scout. This was the hive of the alien queen herself. The stories he had heard in briefings now seemed small, insignificant compared to the reality before him. The hive pulsed like a living organism, every corridor twisting and turning as if it were breathing. Shadows moved, creatures with strange, sharp limbs darting across the walls, always just out of clear sight. Ryland's hands were bound with a strange, flexible material that seemed almost alive. Tightening slightly if he tried to pull free, he had tested his strength. There was no escape, at least not yet. A low, vibrating hum filled the air, resonating through his bones. It was the queen. She was near, and her presence made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Then she appeared. Or perhaps more accurately, he felt her before he saw her. The queen was enormous, her body covered in shimmering exoskeletons that reflected the ambient glow like polished metal. Her eyes were multifaceted, wide and piercing, yet they seemed to study him with something deeper than curiosity, calculation. She stepped forward, each movement measured and deliberate. "Captain Ryland," she said, her voice like a low chime that vibrated through the chamber. "You have trespassed in my hive. Normally, trespassers do not live long enough to see me." Ryland swallowed hard. "I'm not here to fight," he said, keeping his voice steady. "I was exploring. I didn't know." "You know enough," the queen interrupted, her tone sharp but not cruel. "I see courage in humans. That is rare. I will give you a chance. A test." The queen moved aside, revealing a smaller figure behind her. Her daughter, Leora. The young alien was delicate compared to her mother, though her eyes held the same sharp intelligence. Her limbs were slightly translucent, and faint pulses of light moved beneath her skin like rivers of energy. She looked at Ryland cautiously, unsure whether to trust this strange human. "Survive the night with my daughter," the queen said. "Keep her safe. If you succeed, you will leave this hive alive. Fail, and you will not leave at all." Ryland's heart sank for a moment. The challenge sounded simple in words, but he could feel the danger radiating from the hive itself. Every corridor, every shadow seemed alive with threats, and he had no idea why the queen would give him such an opportunity. Perhaps she truly sought to test him, or perhaps it was a trick. He took a deep breath. "Challenge accepted," he said, meeting the queen's gaze. Her eyes narrowed slightly, but she made no move to respond further. She turned and walked away, disappearing into the labyrinthine hive, leaving Ryland with Leora. The young alien's eyes were wide, curious but guarded. She didn't speak at first. Ryland noticed her fingers twitching slightly like she was ready to act at the slightest threat. He held up his hand slowly, palms visible. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. "I just want to get through the night safely, me and with you." Leora tilted her head, studying him. She nodded once, almost imperceptibly, and stepped forward. "Follow me," she said, her voice soft but precise. The corridors twisted in impossible ways, glowing patterns on the walls shifting as if alive. Ryland moved carefully, observing every movement, every faint sound. Tiny creatures skittered across the walls, some harmless, some he could tell were predators. He realized that the hive itself was a living defense system. One wrong move could mean death. As they walked, Ryland tried to make conversation to keep the tension down. "How often do visitors come here?" he asked, carefully choosing his words. Leora's expression flickered. "Not often. My mother keeps most away. She tests us. Tests me." Her eyes darted toward him briefly, then back at the path ahead. "You must learn the hive. It is not just walls and paths. It feels everything." Ryland nodded, silently noting the advice. He could already feel the hive's presence as if it watched them with countless unseen eyes. He had to move carefully, stay alert, and protect this young alien if he hoped to survive. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from a nearby corridor. The walls shook. Rylan instinctively pushed Leora behind him. Shadows moved quickly, and a creature lunged, its limbs spiked and curved. Rylan grabbed a piece of debris from the floor, swinging it to distract the creature. Leora reacted instinctively, glowing tendrils extending from her arms to create a barrier. The creature screeched, retreating for a moment before vanishing into the depths of the hive. Rylan exhaled sharply, realizing that this night would be far more dangerous than he had imagined. And yet, there was something inspiring in Leora's courage. She was small but strong, intelligent, and fearless in the face of threats that would have killed him in a second if he were alone. "This is going to be harder than I thought," he muttered. Leora glanced at him, her eyes reflecting understanding. "Yes," she said simply, "but we survived together." Rylan smiled faintly, the first genuine expression since his capture. In that moment, he realized something crucial. Human. Courage, ingenuity, and teamwork could match even the deadliest hive. Survival would require more than strength. It would demand trust, cleverness, and courage. The night had just begun, and the hive stretched endlessly around them. But for the first time, Rylan felt hope. He had accepted the Queen's challenge, and he was ready. Whatever dangers lay ahead, he would face them, side by side with the alien girl who, despite her strange and otherworldly nature, shared a spark of determination that felt very familiar. Together, they stepped deeper into the glowing corridors, the hum of the hive echoing around them. Shadows shifted, creatures lurked, and the alien world pulsed with life. Yet as terrifying as it was, Rylan felt a spark of human defiance and courage. Survival, he realized, was not just about fighting the night. It was about understanding, adapting, and never giving up. The corridors of the hive seemed endless, each turn twisted into another, lined with walls that pulsed faintly like living tissue. Rylan moved carefully, his senses alert to every sound. Even though he had survived the first encounter, he knew danger was everywhere. One wrong step, one careless move could mean the end. Leora moved ahead of him with surprising grace. Her translucent limbs glowed softly, illuminating the path in rhythmic pulses. Despite her youth, she walked with confidence, as if she belonged to the hive more than any creature within it. Rylan couldn't help but admire her courage. She was small, delicate in appearance, yet her presence radiated strength. "You move well for a human," Leora said, her voice echoing slightly in the curved corridor. "Most are clumsy. They panic and die quickly." "I've had to survive tougher places than this," Rylan replied, keeping his voice calm. "But this is unlike anything I've faced before." Leora glanced at him, her wide eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and caution. "Then you will need more than skill. You will need understanding." Rylan raised an eyebrow. "Understanding? The hive?" "Yes," she said simply. "It is alive. It senses everything. Fear, anger, thought. You cannot hide from it. You must move with it, not against it." Rylan considered her words. He had encountered alien species before, but nothing like this. The hive itself was a living entity. It was dangerous, yes, but it was also intelligent. Perhaps if he could understand its rhythms and signals, he could survive. A low rumble shook the corridor. Rylan instinctively crouched, and Leora did the same. From the shadows emerged a pack of small creatures, fast and spindly, with jagged limbs and glowing red eyes. They moved like coordinated hunters circling him and Leora. Rylan's mind raced. He grabbed a fallen piece of debris and held it defensively. "Stay behind me," he said, his voice firm. Leora's tendrils extended, forming a protective barrier. The creatures lunged. Rylan swung, striking one, but another jumped at him. Leora's barrier pulsed with light, knocking it back. Together they fought in perfect unison. Rylan's strength and quick thinking combined with Leora's innate abilities created a balance neither of them had planned. Within moments, the creatures retreated into the shadows. Breathing heavily, Rylan exhaled. "You're amazing," he said. Leora tilted her head. "I do not need praise. I need survival. And now you have shown value." Rylan smiled faintly, a glimmer of warmth. In the alien darkness, he realized something important. He and Leora would have to rely on each other completely. Alone, either one of them would not last the night. Together, they had a chance. As they moved deeper into the hive, the corridors narrowed and twisted, the walls pulsing faster, almost like a heartbeat. Strange growths and alien vegetation pressed close, forcing them to move carefully. Some plants reacted to touch, snapping or releasing clouds of fine spores. Rylan quickly learned to observe and adapt using human intuition to avoid danger. "You are learning," Leora said, her voice calm. "Few humans can survive this long without harm." Rylan nodded. "I'm learning from you, not just the hive." Leora's eyes softened slightly. For the first time, Rylan thought he saw a trace of trust. She was beginning to see him as more than just a human intruder, perhaps as an ally. The Neelenge came without warning. A sectai. The deeper they ventured into the hive, the more Rylan began to notice the patterns in its movement. The walls pulsed in rhythm, the corridors seemed to shift ever so slightly, and faint whispers of sound brushed against his ears. It was almost as if the hive itself was alive, not only aware of their presence but aware of their thoughts. He could feel it observing him, testing his reactions. Leora moved ahead, glowing softly, her tendrils brushing against the walls. "The hive senses fear," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "It learns. You must keep your mind steady. It can detect hesitation." Rylan nodded, focusing on steadying his breathing. He had survived hostile planets, extreme weather, and alien predators, but this was different. This hive was intelligent, and they were inside its living body. One wrong move could cost them both their lives. Suddenly they entered a large chamber. The ceiling arched high above, covered in intricate web-like structures. Strange creatures moved along these webs, tending to the hive, carrying glowing spores, and performing tasks that seemed organized and purposeful. Rylan's eyes widened. He realized that the hive was more than just a home for the queen. It was a complex, self-sustaining society. "This is incredible," he whispered. "It's like a city." Leora nodded. "Yes, but do not be distracted. The queen is watching, everything we do is observed." Rylan felt a shiver run down his spine. The queen's presence had always been near, but now it felt heavier, almost tangible. He realized the test was more than surviving the night. It was about understanding her daughter and the hive itself. As they moved forward, Leora began to speak more freely. "The queen is not cruel for no reason," she said. "She prepares me for my role. One day I must lead the hive. She tests me, and now by extension, she tests you. She watches how you react, how you think, how you care, for me." Rylan glanced at her. "So this isn't just about survival. It's about learning and proving something." Leora's glow flickered. "Yes. Many humans would fail because they do not understand. You may succeed because you do not only survive, you think, you adapt, you protect. That is why I am here with you." Rylan felt a strange sense of responsibility. Leora was not just a young alien, she was the future of this civilization. Protecting her was no longer optional. He had to ensure her safety, even if it meant risking his own life. A sudden tremor shook the chamber. Rylan grabbed onto a web-like structure for support, and Leora's tendrils wrapped around his arm instinctively. The walls shifted slightly, and a section of the chamber cracked, revealing a deeper passage filled with glowing energy. "The Queen's secret chambers," Leora said softly. "Few have ever seen them. She stores knowledge here, she stores power." Rylan's curiosity was piqued. "Power?" he asked. Like weapons? Leora shook her head. Not weapons as you think. The hive itself is a weapon, a protector. And the queen knows its secrets. She tests me here because one day I must inherit those secrets. Rylan realized that this night was more than a challenge. It was a lesson in understanding a completely alien way of life, and he had to pass. Not just for himself, but for Leora, and perhaps for humanity as well. They moved carefully through the chamber, avoiding the intricate webs and the creatures tending them. Rylan marveled at the alien engineering, the way every part of the hive seemed interconnected, intelligent, and alive. He understood why the queen's tests were so severe. Any human without patience, intelligence, or courage would fail instantly. Suddenly, Leora stopped. Her tendrils stiffened, and her glow intensified. Rylan followed her gaze to a massive door covered in alien symbols, faintly shimmering with energy. This is where the queen's secrets are kept, Leora whispered. We cannot enter yet. The hive will not allow it, but we can observe. Rylan nodded, scanning the patterns. He realized that these symbols were more than decoration. They were a form of communication, a system of knowledge the hive had developed over centuries. The sheer complexity was overwhelming, but Rylan's mind worked quickly, analyzing patterns, predicting the hive's behavior. Why show me this? He asked. Leora's eyes softened. Because you are learning. You must see that survival is not only about fighting, it is about understanding, respecting, and thinking ahead. The queen tests me with challenges. She tests you through me. If we survive the night, you will understand more than any human before you. Rylan felt a surge of respect, not just for Leora, but for the queen. Her methods were harsh, but they were designed to prepare and protect, not to harm without reason. In this alien world, survival required more than physical strength. It required wisdom, courage, and compassion. The tremor came again, stronger this time, shaking the floor and sending dust and debris falling. Rylan and Leora braced themselves, holding on to each other instinctively. The hive seemed restless, reacting to the energy within its chambers. A distant roar echoed through the walls, deep and powerful. Rylan's instincts screamed danger. The hive sentinel, Leora whispered. It is moving toward us. We must leave now. Rylan nodded. Every step now had to be careful, calculated. They moved quickly through the twisting corridors, avoiding creatures, traps, and hazards. The bond between them grew stronger with every challenge. They began to anticipate each other's moves, forming a silent rhythm of survival. As they reached a safer section of the hive, Rylan looked at Leora. I understand a little more now. It's not just survival, it's learning, adapting, and protecting each other. Leora's glow softened, almost like a smile. Yes, and that is why you may survive. Many humans would fail, but you are different. Rylan felt a mixture of pride and humility. This was no longer just a challenge. It was a test of human qualities. Courage, intelligence, empathy. The queen's judgment would not come from strength alone, but from the heart and mind of a human who dared to stand beside her daughter. The night was far from over. Shadows lurked, dangers waited, and the hive pulsed around them like a living being. Yet Rylan felt something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. With Leora at his side, he believed they could face whatever the hive had in store. The first half of the night had passed, and the human and the young alien had survived together. They had fought, learned, and begun to trust one another. Rylan understood now that this was more than a test. It was a lesson in courage, partnership, and the strength of the human spirit in the face of the unknown. Together, they stepped forward, into the deeper darkness of the hive, ready for whatever secrets and dangers awaited them next. The deeper they moved into the hive, the more alive it seemed. The walls pulsed in rhythm, echoing a heartbeat Rylan could feel in his chest. Shadows flickered and twisted, and the glowing patterns on the walls shifted like a warning. Every step carried unseen danger. Leora led the way, her glowing tendrils, brushing lightly against the walls, sensing the hive's currents. The hive knows we are here, she whispered. It reacts. It will test us. Rylan nodded, gripping the debris he had taken as a makeshift weapon. Then we move fast, smart, and together. The first challenge appeared suddenly. From above, a section of the ceiling cracked and a cluster of hive stalkers dropped down. They were slender, six-legged creatures with sharp, curved claws and eyes that glowed bright red. They moved with unnerving speed, circling them. Rylan swung his debris, striking one, but the stalkers were coordinated, flanking him from multiple directions. Leora reacted instantly. Her tendrils glowed bright blue, extending to push the creatures back. She moved with precision, blocking attacks while guiding Rylan through the narrow corridor. The creatures hissed, retreating slightly. But Rylan knew the danger was far from over. "You can't just fight them head-on," Leora shouted. "The hive will call more if we make too much noise." Rylan ducked a swipe from a stalker, then kicked debris toward a cluster of glowing spores on the wall. The spores exploded in a cloud of blinding light, temporarily confusing the creatures. Together they moved past the danger. Rylan felt a surge of pride. Human ingenuity combined with Leora's instincts was keeping them alive. As they ran, Leora spoke quietly. "The hive watches not just for danger, it watches for weakness. If you hesitate, it will exploit it." Rylan swallowed, realizing how true her words were. This was not just a physical challenge. It was a test of courage, intelligence, and composure. Every choice mattered. Every move had consequences. They reached a larger chamber, open to the glowing ceiling above. The floor was uneven, covered in spongy growths and shallow pits. From the shadows, another predator emerged, larger than the stalkers, with wings folded against its back and multiple eyes scanning the area. Its mandibles clicked rhythmically, echoing through the chamber. Rylan glanced at Leora. "We'll need a plan. Fast." Leora's tendrils shimmered. "We can use the hive's currents. It reacts to sound and vibration. We can distract it and move quickly." They moved in coordination, Rylan tossing small stones to create noise in one direction while Leora glowed brightly, drawing the creature's attention. It lunged at her light, but she twisted and moved with precision, leading it away from the path. Rylan followed closely, timing his movements to avoid drawing the predator's attention. The plan worked, barely. They reached a section of the hive where the walls narrowed, forcing the predator to back off. Both were breathing heavily, sweat running down Rylan's forehead. "This hive is alive," he muttered. "It's like fighting a world that The hive guardian's roar faded into the shadows, but Rylan knew that the danger was far from over. The hive pulsed all around them, alive with quiet movement. Every sound, every vibration could signal another threat. He looked at Leora, whose glow had softened to a steady, calm rhythm. "We survived the hunt," Rylan said, trying to catch his breath. "But I have a feeling the hive isn't done testing us." Leora's eyes flickered with understanding. "You are correct. It tests not only strength but intelligence. And now, we turn the tables." Rylan raised an eyebrow. "Turn the tables? How?" Leora pointed to the walls. "The hive reacts to energy, sound, and movement. We can use it. If we understand its currents, we can lead creatures where we want. We can use the hive against itself." Rylan smiled faintly. This was exactly the kind of challenge he thrived on. Humans had survived for millennia by thinking, adapting, and using their environment in clever ways. Here, he could prove that ingenuity could match even alien instinct. They moved carefully through a narrow corridor that branched into multiple paths. Leora's tendrils brushed against the walls, sensing vibrations. "Here," she said, pointing. "This path leads to the energy currents. We can manipulate them." Rylan examined the walls. Pulses of light and subtle vibrations ran through the hive like currents of electricity. He realized that with the right timing, they could redirect the hive's energy to create barriers, confuse predators, and even control the larger creatures. "Let's try it," he said, focusing. He used small stones and debris to create vibrations in the right sequence while guiding Leora's movements to amplify the effect. The walls pulsed faster, and the hive seemed to respond. Small creatures scuttled in confusion, while larger predators hesitated, unsure where to strike. Leora's glow intensified, casting moving patterns on the walls. "Good," she said. "You are learning. Together we can control the environment, not just react to it." As they moved, a larger threat appeared. A second hive guardian, more massive than the first, blocked their path. Its multiple eyes scanned for vibrations, its limbs thrashing the floor. Rylan and Leora froze for a moment, calculating. A direct fight would be suicide. "We need to lure it," Rylan whispered. "Into the currents. Follow my lead." Using their combined skills, they created a series of controlled vibrations and distractions. Leora extended her tendrils, glowing in rhythmic patterns to manipulate the hive's perception. The guardian followed the pulses, moving in the exact direction they wanted. Rylan sprinted ahead, tossing debris and creating diversions. Leora's precise movements amplified the hive's currents, guiding the guardian deeper into a side chamber. Finally, Rylan triggered a sequence that caused part of the walls to shift, trapping the guardian momentarily in a chamber of spongy, pulsating growths. It roared and struggled but could not escape. "We did it," Rylan said, panting. "We turned the hunt into our advantage." Leora nodded, her glow dimming slightly as she relaxed. "Yes, but the final test approaches. The Queen watches everything. She will see what we have done." Rylan knew this was true. Every action, every decision had been observed. He had survived physical dangers, learned to work with Leora, and now demonstrated human ingenuity by manipulating an alien environment. This was what set humans apart, the ability to think, adapt, and use intelligence in the face of overwhelming odds. They continued through the hive, moving faster now but with care. The corridors pulsed and shifted, but the duo had developed a rhythm. Each step, each movement was deliberate. Every vibration and flash of light was used to their advantage. They were no longer mere prey, they were strategists, using knowledge and courage to survive. Suddenly, the walls opened into a vast chamber filled with glowing crystals and flowing bioenergy. The hive's currents were strongest here, converging in a display of power. Rylan felt a rush of awe. This was the heart of the hive, and the energy here was unlike anything he had seen. "This must be where the Queen observes," he whispered. "The currents, they amplify perception." Leora nodded. "Yes. The Queen's knowledge flows here. She watches, learns, judges." Rylan realized that every step they had taken had prepared them for this moment. The challenges, the hunts, the manipulations of the hive, they had trained him to understand the environment, anticipate threats, and act decisively. Human determination, intelligence, and courage had carried them through. A soft vibration ran through the chamber. The Queen appeared, her massive form glowing faintly in the bioenergy of the hive. Her eyes were focused on Rylan, then Leora, and she tilted her head slightly. "You have learned quickly," she said, her voice low and resonant. "You have adapted, protected, and shown ingenuity. Few humans could survive what you have endured." Rylan felt a swell of pride but kept his composure. "I only did what I had to survive and protect Leora." The Queen's gaze softened slightly. "And that is why you may survive the night. Not by strength alone, but by intelligence, courage, and care for another. You embody qualities rare even among humans. You honor your species." Rylan looked at Leora, who gave a faint nod. Together they had survived the hive's deadliest tests. Together they had turned a hunt into a demonstration of human ingenuity and teamwork. The Queen stepped back, her presence receding into the chamber's energy. "You have passed the final test," she said. "The night is over. You are free to leave." Rylan exhaled, relief flooding him. The challenges, the dangers, the relentless pursuit, they were over. Human determination, intelligence, and courage had proven themselves even in the deadliest alien environment. As they walked toward the exit, Leora glanced at Rylan. "You have shown me something important tonight. Humans are clever, adaptable, and brave. I am glad you were here. Rylan smiled faintly. And I am glad I was here too. We survived together. The hive's glow faded as they approached the surface, the danger and tension slowly easing. The night had tested them to their limits, but they had endured. Rylan realized that survival was more than physical strength. It was intelligence, courage, empathy, and the ability to adapt. Human qualities had shone brightly, even in an alien world. As they stepped into the open air, the first light of a new cycle glimmered across the hive. Rylan felt a sense of accomplishment and wonder. The queen had tested him, the hive had tried to overwhelm him, and yet he had survived. Human ingenuity, determination, and courage had prevailed, and for Rylan that was just the beginning. The hive's glow dimmed as Rylan and Leora approached the central chamber. The air pulsed with energy, vibrating through the walls and the floor. Rylan could feel the hive's heartbeat around them, steady and powerful. He glanced at Leora. Her glow was bright, confident, and steady, showing no fear. "This is it," she said softly. "The queen awaits. Everything we have done will be judged here." Rylan nodded, taking a deep breath. He had survived the hive's hunts, faced the guardians, and turned the environment to their advantage. But this was the final challenge, the queen herself. The weight of the moment pressed on him, but he refused to falter. The chamber opened into a massive hall, high-ceilinged and lined with bioluminescent crystals that pulsed in rhythm with the hive. In the center, the alien queen stood, her massive form shimmering with power. Her eyes, multifaceted and intelligent, were fixed on him. Leora stepped forward, standing beside him. "You have survived much," the queen said, her voice resonating like distant thunder. "But survival alone is not enough. Tell me, why should I spare you?" Rylan straightened. "I survived because I adapted, because I thought, and because I protected your daughter. I did not run, I did not panic, and I did not act recklessly. I worked with her, learned the hive, and proved that humans can face even the deadliest challenges. I did it to survive and to keep her safe." The queen studied him for a long moment. Her gaze seemed to pierce through him, reading not just his actions but his thoughts and intentions. Many humans would fail at every step. Few would understand the hive. Fewer still would protect another willingly. You have shown courage, intelligence, and care. These are qualities rare even among your kind. Rylan glanced at Leora. She nodded slightly, proud. He realized that the queen's test had never been just about him. It had been about teamwork, empathy, and the strength of human character. The queen stepped forward, and the hall's energy pulsed stronger. Rylan felt the hive's consciousness flowing around him, sensing, judging. He held his ground, keeping his mind clear, focusing on his determination and the lessons he had learned from the night. "You turned the hunt into a strategy," the queen said. "You observed, adapted, and protected. Your actions saved not only yourself but also my daughter. That is why you may live." Rylan felt a rush of relief, but he maintained his composure. "Thank you," he said. "I only did what was necessary." The queen inclined her massive head. "Human ingenuity is impressive. Your species survives where others might fail because you think, adapt, and care. Courage alone is not enough. Intelligence alone is not enough. But together, they create strength beyond measure." Rylan absorbed her words, feeling pride in the human spirit he represented. The queen was right. This was more than survival. This was a testament to human adaptability, determination, and empathy in the face of unknown danger. "You have earned the hive's respect," she continued, "and mine. You may leave with your life in the knowledge that humans are capable of far more."